Hi, my name is Aya, you're watching Aya Reads, and at the time of filming this intro, Rewinded Back by Liz Tomforde comes out tomorrow, and I cannot wait. This is a long-awaited Rio book, and this is the video where I'm going to be reading it. Yeah, there's not much to tell. I love Rio, and I hope this book will be everything that I could want in a Rio book. So let's cue to the vlog. All right, I am about 50% of the way through Rewinded Back. I'm on page 260. And this is the fifth and final book of the Windy City series, which has amazing books like Mile High, The Right Move, Caught Up, and Play Along. I think Rio definitely is a fan favorite. He definitely was one of my favorite characters in the book. So throughout these books, you have seen Rio being the one and only single friend of the group. He makes it very clear from the very beginning that he is looking for love. He is an interesting character in that he has more friends who are girls than are guys. So mainly, like, for example, Stevie and especially Indy are truly his best friends. And yes, he obviously also likes the men in the group and they're also his friends, but he's definitely closest to the girls. So I was definitely interested to see what kind of girl he would end up with. And it turns out that his love story is a second chance romance. So basically you follow Rio, like I said, and Hallie. And Rio, he has been in Chicago for ever since he started his professional career, but his mom lives in Boston, I think. Boston. Anyway, she lives somewhere else. She's getting older, she's alone, and he's really debating now for his last leg of his career whether or not he wants to finish his career off in Chicago or go back to Boston to finish out his career and be close to his mom. For several reasons. One, I just mentioned, like, he wants to help take care of his mom since she's alone, but also he feels like he's been looking for love in Chicago for the last 6 years and he hasn't really found it, and he's getting tired of being like the ninth wheel in their friend group. He's talking about that with his neighbor because his house is kind of like the bachelor pad and he's thinking of renovating, and like for two reasons. Either so that next year he can sell it and get a good price for it, or I am kind of washed out. Yeah. Or if he just stays here, then at least his house will be kind of ready for when he meets his soulmate. So his neighbor, she's been renovating and he has looked at the place and he really loved it. And she tells him that the interior decorator is actually moving in with her, and if he wants to hire the interior decorator, he can. So he ends up doing it. Sometime before actually getting to his first meeting, he realizes that the interior decorator plus his new neighbor is his ex-girlfriend, the love of his life. They met when they were 12. Okay, I think the synopsis on Goodreads tells me the ages. When I was 11, my family moved next door to his. When I was 13, he was my first crush. When I was 16, we fell for each other. And when I was 19, we broke each other's hearts. So he kind of wants her to, first of all, move away from Chicago, and also he doesn't want to work with her, but she has this internship at this very prestigious interior decorating business and she is broke for reasons we don't know. So alongside her internship, she actually works 5 days a week at a bar. So she is swamped with work and she really needs this job because if she actually does like 2 major interior decorating jobs, then the chances of her getting hired by this firm that is being run by her idol, it's like they will for sure hire her. Whereas if she doesn't have this second interior design gig, then they might not, and she really needs this job. So eventually, you know, Rio really tries to stay away from her. He sometimes has like some mean things he says to her, but really everybody knows, the reader knows, Rio knows, everybody knows that that is really just not in him to be this mean. So eventually Hallie kind of begs him for the job and he, of course, relents. And now they kind of have to pretend that they don't have this history. They have to pretend to have this like professional relationship and they have to pretend that they're friends. But of course, lines get blurred because neither of them has felt, in the 6 years they were apart, neither of them has found what they had all those years ago. So while she's designing his house, both of them start realizing that there's really nobody in the world that knows them as well as the other one. This is gonna be their second chance romance. Also, this has some flashbacks. So far, not a lot. Right now, 50% of the way through, we had 3 flashback scenes, but they were full on chapters. So I know some people are not a fan of those. I am kind of, I don't know, I kind of like them, but it does take me out of the flow of the story. That is just par for the course for these giant flashbacks, because I obviously like, but I mean, I do have to say, I really enjoy teenage Rio and Hallie. I think they're adorable together. I do love seeing the foundation of what they have together. I do feel like the flashbacks add to the romance, because as I always say with second chance romances, they work for me because a foundation has already been laid out. And yes, that is implicit for that trope, but actually seeing that foundation being built, I really enjoy. I also love in this series that the title really has significance for the story. So with Play Along, especially for the last 2 books, for Play Along, but also Rewind It Back. So Hallie, ever since she was young, anytime there was this, she knew that she was going to live out a memory that she wanted to remember, she would pick out a song to so that when she listened to the song again, she would relive the memory, so she could play back the memory. And I really love how that is incorporated in the story. I, of course, really love Rio. I do have to say, before we got into his book, Rio was always like the clown character, the funny guy, the kind of butt of the joke in a way. And so I was kind of, even though I was very much looking forward to his book, I was kind of hesitant to see if he was going to be like a sexy hero, I guess. But honestly, she's nailing it. Like, I am real, like, he's so sexy. Like, he might be honestly one of my favorite heroes. And I do love in this book that Hallie acknowledges that. Sorry, I had to check if my mic was on. So if anything changed, that's why. Anyway, moving on. So Hallie acknowledges that in the book, saying that people always kind of laugh at him because he makes himself the butt of the joke, but I always thought he was hot. I always thought he was sexy. I always took him seriously. So I do like that it's acknowledged on page, because I have a feeling I'm not the only reader who thought about him that way. And to actually, like, I just think he's such a hot character. And he's just like such a good guy, truly. Like, I love Rio. First of all, I love how he hired her based on her merits, because when he hired her, he did so, literally the only information he had was her work. He didn't know who this person was. He didn't know anything about her. In fact, the fact that he actually found out who she was a detriment. He almost didn't hire her because of who she was. So to actually know that he loves and appreciates her work, I just love that whole plot line in here, because usually with these romances, it is easy to get into the pitfall of, like, you know, the man being like the savior, saving the main character by making her, like, hiring her and paying her, stuff like that. And that really, it just doesn't feel that way to me. Also, I just like, sometimes he's breaking my heart in this book, because he is so unbelievably honest about his feelings. Like, he's laying it out there. He is very clear from the very beginning. First of all, like, telling her that she hurt him, but also now we're getting into the romance part, that he wants to try again, even though we don't know the full story yet. But it's from, I don't know, like, both of them have made mistakes, that is clear, but it seems like, I don't know, in the beginning of the story, it seemed like she was the one who broke his heart. So to have him be this vulnerable again and be this honest about his feelings, I just really appreciate that. Like, out of the two, he's definitely the one that is more honest earlier, and I do love that. I also love anytime he calls her love. So he calls her love a lot, and I love that. I love that term of endearment. It reminds me of Klaus from the Vampire Diaries. Listen, anytime a hero calls the heroine love, it's like, where are my panties? Oh wait, they're on the floor. Like, I just love that. Like, I'm just gonna insert some clip here.
That depends what plan you mean, love.
I've got you, love.
Well, that's only the plan A, love.
But you don't want to fight me, love. Well, that's how compulsion works, love.
Well, don't be fooled, love. Are you all right, love? Tell us what it...
I cannot even tell you the amount of times I watched this video, which I'll leave linked for you, just to hear Klaus say love over and over and over and over again, especially his, are you all right, love? Anyway, I just love that. It just melts my heart. Also, his mom calls him Tesoro, which I also love. Anyway, we're gonna move on from all those nicknames. I do have to say, and I'm not sure, like this is speculation, I'm not sure if this is true, but every time I read the name DeLuca, I get I just picture DeLuca from Grey's Anatomy. And I know Rio is not described as DeLuca, I don't think so. So let me put a picture here. This is also a very hot guy. Anyway. And their story kind of also reminds me of the love story of DeLuca in Grey's Anatomy. I believe that was also like a childhood love. Something happened that made them hate each other. It's a second chance romance. I don't know. When I'm reading their story, I'm reminded of that storyline in Grey's Anatomy, and I'm reminded of DeLuca from Grey's Anatomy. So that is really not a hardship for me to picture him. So far I'm really loving it. I love the cameos, of course, of all the other characters. It seems like this book definitely takes place a while after the other books because most of the couples have had their children and everything. And like I said, I do love the flashbacks. They're still like right where I'm at now. There are still some questions I have that hopefully will get answered. So yeah, like the scene I just stopped at, I was giggling and kicking my feet. I also love the fact that Rio is, what do you call that? When somebody cannot have sex unless there's an emotional attachment. Let me look up the term. Demisexual. Yeah. Although it's not stated in the text, but it is stated that he will only have sex unless there's commitment, which I just love that. I mean, how many times, like that is just very rare. And I just love how honest he is about that. And I just love the way he loves her. I do. I really do. Like he is just swoony. He just is. So I'm just going to continue reading. Tomorrow I'm kind of busy after work. So hopefully I can finish it tomorrow. Although the plan is to upload this video on Friday and today is Wednesday. So yeah, I'm just going to continue reading and living my best life. And I think I'll update you once I finish, honestly, unless there is a scene I really want to react to. So see you then. So I just finished, rewinded back, and I really, really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I do have to sit with it for a while, but I think right now it is my second favorite in the series. I don't think I love it more than The Right Move. But maybe if a bit of time passes, it might actually be my favorite. I don't know. But for now, it sits at second place. I really, really love this book, but I do have one tiny criticism, which I'll get to later, and we'll expand on a little bit more in the spoiler section. This book, and a lot of the books, honestly, in the Windy City series are the epitome of if he wanted to, he would. Like the way he was willing to do anything to make her comfortable, the way he was willing to be there for her, even if the consequence was a little bit bigger for him, it didn't matter. He was there for her, and I loved him. In fact, I just loved the way he loved her. Like honestly, it almost made me cry how much he loved her, and the way he loved her, it was mesmerizing. I loved reading about it, and Rio was just perfect in my opinion. I loved him so much. Yeah, I really don't know what to say except for the fact that I really loved it. I love the way that he could only sleep when he was with her. I love that teeny micro trope. I just do. The way his head was always so busy and there were a lot of things going on, but when he was with her, he could sleep. And I don't know why, I really love that. I loved all the music in this book, even though we technically didn't actually hear all the songs or know what those songs were, but the way music was so pivotal and significant in their relationship, I really enjoyed that so much. I, of course, like I said, in my first update, I loved seeing all the other couples, and like towards the end, because this technically is the last book in the Windy City series, there's going to be a spin-off book, which I'll talk about a little bit more in the spoiler section, but I just loved seeing where everybody ended up. And that's why I also love the fact that this book takes place a little bit after the other one, so we get to have like the full HEA of the rest of the couples. I love how there are like a group of 10 now, and all the couples and all their kids. I just really, really enjoyed so much. And I just like this once again, it proved what a beautiful, like I just really love Liz's writing style, and I really need to know where she gets the inspiration for these heroes, because introduce me to one of the inspirations, please, because like literally almost all her heroes were amazing. Like I said, if he wanted to, he would type of heroes, and I loved each and every one of them. Really, Rio has a very special place in my heart because out of all the books, his really is the one, like, at least I have been looking forward to the most. We have seen him ever since the first book. He was a staple character ever since the first book, a very significant character ever since the first book. So to see his romance finally happen for him, I was just rooting for him every step of the way. And like I said, I do think she nailed it. One tiny criticism I have is like the side plot of his mother. And like I said, I really don't want to get into it too much because I don't want to spoil it, but she has a problem with Hallie for reasons that happened in the past. And I felt like that storyline went on for a little bit too long. And I feel like, as much as I really love this book, this could have been like, I don't know, like the last 50 to 70 pages, not the last, yeah, before the epilogue, like the last 50 pages before the epilogue, I felt like those were a little bit unnecessary. I just didn't really like that plot point too much. And like I said, I'm gonna go into, in the spoiler section, really talk about why it annoyed me so much. Having said all that, I really loved it. There's really not much else to say. I just really loved it. I love Rio. I love Hallie too. I thought she was a very well-rounded character, especially since she was the love interest of a guy we've known for 5. She needed to have a very strong personality to stand beside Rio, who we've known for 4 books already. And I felt like she really did a good job. And I really, now looking back, I just don't think he could have had anything other than a second chance romance. I loved all the found family in here. Like, that epilogue just made me so happy, like a happy little camper. But this book wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Like, there were a lot of like more difficult conversations they had, some guilt, some regret. That makes sense because it needs to be explained why these two went so long without speaking, even though they were each other's like love of their lives. So yeah, I loved it. I would highly recommend it. Can you read this without having read the other ones? I think you can, because since Hallie really has nothing to do with the rest of the group, you can read this. You can definitely read this without having read the other ones. But I mean, if you want the full experience, obviously read them in order. So yeah, before I get into the spoiler section, I really want to thank everybody else for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books and which book is your favorite. If you're down there and want to tell me you were here but don't want to actually say something, leave me some sort of musical emoji. And thank you so much for watching. And let's get into the spoiler section now. So the whole mom storyline, like I said, it got annoying real quickly. Like, I get that she was upset with Hallie in the beginning. I truly do. Especially since obviously she knew her husband was having an affair. She knew for 2 weeks and she didn't say. But to still hold such a big grudge over it, over a mistake a 19-year-old made, I just think that made no sense whatsoever. Like, you are a grown woman. I get that in your anger and your betrayal and your disappointment, you are angry with everybody, like with the whole world. But I feel like hindsight 2020, once your son, who you have seen struggle to find love again, tells you that she's back and he has feelings for her, I would hope you as a grown woman would look at that situation and think, you know what, maybe I was a little bit unfair to her without her having to come grovel at your door, having to explain all that. Because I do feel like without Hallie having to explain that it was her mother who manipulated her into keeping quiet, I still feel like Rio's mom should have forgiven her a long time ago, because really this was not her fault. She was just a teenage girl being at her boyfriend's house, walking in on her mom having an affair with her boyfriend's dad. Like, to not see her side of the story in that context is baffling to me. And that kind of made me dislike his mom for a bit there, because I just could not understand that whole plot line. And I felt, like I said in my non-spoilery section, I felt like that went on for too long. It was unnecessary because it didn't make any sense to me. I did like the way they resolved it, and at the end of the day, I was rooting for Rio's mom when she told him, which I already suspected, of course, that she was dating his uncle. I was over the moon happy for her. Also, one exciting thing, of course, is we're getting Monty's story, Daddy Monty. I'm so excited about that. It's coming in March already, so I'm excited, very much excited for that. I really hope to reread this whole series before getting to that book. Yeah, like I said, I really loved it. Like, I loved how he, first of all, it was clear from the beginning that his new jersey number was her birthday. I just love that. And I love how his birthday and her birthday were mirrored. Like, his was August 3rd and hers was March 8th. I just love that. I love how he got a secret tattoo for her, which that is one of my favorite tropes ever. I love how he bought this house with her in mind. Like, he has loved her quietly, subconsciously for the last 6 years. And I just am, like I said, I just love the way he loves her so much. And the fact that they were both, like, the fact that they both never had sex with anybody else, I mean, kind of unrealistic, but I love that too. The way both of them were shocked that they have only been with each other. It's just beautiful to me. I love them so much. So yeah, those are my thoughts. If you're still here, I'm assuming you've already read this book, so leave all your thoughts down below. Did you love it as much as I did? And if you didn't love it as much as I did, let me know why, but I am head over heels in love with this book and head over heels in love with Rio. So leave all your thoughts down below. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know by leaving a like if you did, and thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.